Yeah, welcome again, guys, to the tutorials. So today we'll be covering what we call the major chords. So just to start out, I think we'll start in the key of C. So remember what we call a major chord. It's basically two or more notes being played together at the same time to create a chord. Meaning those are the foundations for you to be able to play a song. Like let's say a song like your Alpha and Omega. Oh, sorry, in the key of C. So these, what I'm holding down, these are basically your chords. So we use them to play the song. So yeah, you need to know your chords, guys. So now let's go over to the major chords. Remember I said that there's a major chord and then there's a minor chord. So for these tutorials, for these ones, we will just be focusing on the majors, and then after we're done with the major chords, we'll go over to the minor chords. So let's take a look at your major chord, your C major chord. So remember that for the beginners, I normally advise that you hold your major chord using your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger. It will be simpler as you're starting out, but you'll see that the more you practice and the more you get to play, your fingering will change as well. You'll no longer be holding it with your thumb, your index finger, and your middle finger. So let's look at the C major chord. So we already know that on the C major scale, remember that your major chord, it will be developed on the major scale. So in other words, remember that the major scale is sort of like a roadmap, and then we're just picking some certain areas that we're going to use for your major chord. So if I'm just to show you your major scale, starting with your C, that's your major scale. So now on your major scale, you're just going to pick out your 1, your 3, and your 5. That will create a C major chord. So if this is my 1, I'm going to skip my 2, and I'm going to press down on my 3. Skip my 4, and I'm going to press down on my 5. This is a major chord. It's a C major chord. It comprises of my 1, 2, and my 3. So we call it a root chord. So now I'm going to show you the first inversion. I'm going to show you the root chord, the first inversion, and the second inversion. These you need to know whenever you are constructing your songs. In other words, in other terms, they call it voicings. So your first inversion and your second inversion are called is something that we call voicing. The way that we play it. Remember that when we're playing a song, we want the melody to be in the highest note. So I know that we haven't gotten to that stage of playing songs, but I'm already telling you that the melody should be on the highest note. So we're trying to structure our chords so that the melody can be on the highest note. So you'll see that when we are playing your C major chord, you can change it to a first inversion and second inversion. How? If this is my C, I'm going to play an octave higher, meaning I'm going to play a higher C. I'm going to play this C over here. So in other words, I'm going to leave now this C. I'm going to change my hand position. I'm going to bring my thumb over to my E. I'm going to bring my index finger over to the G. And then I'm going to use my middle finger to play my other C. This is still a C major chord, just that this is the first inversion. Let me bring it back so that you can understand it again. This is the C major chord, the root chord. So now let me create the first inversion. I'm going to take this C over to that other C. So I'm going to move my thumb to my E. I'm going to move now my index finger to my G, and I'm going to move my middle finger to my C. This is my first inversion. Now I'm going to create a second inversion where I'm going to take now my E, I'm going to play a higher E. I'm going to play this E over here. So I'm going to move my thumb to my G. I'm going to move this index finger to my C, and then I'm going to move my middle finger to my E. This is a second inversion. So now let me go back to the root chord. I'm going to move my G, and I'm going to play a higher G, which is this one. So I'm going to move my thumb to play my C. I'm going to move my pointy finger to play my E, and I'm going to use my middle finger to play my G. Now this is the chord that I show you in the beginning. So meaning if I use the root chord and then invert it, I'm going to get a first inversion. Then invert it again, I'm going to get a second inversion. If I invert it again, I'm going to go back to the root chord. The reason for this is that the keyboard keeps on repeating. Remember I showed you that it is 3 black notes, 2 black notes, 3 black notes, 2 black notes. So it keeps on repeating after each and every 12 keys. So that is how I'm able to do that. So this is my root chord, first inversion, second inversion. So with that alone, I'm able to create a foundation for playing a song. So remember that I have my first inversion, second inversion, and my root chord for my C major chord. So yeah.